Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RAMP, Real Access Motivates Progress, live Wednesday night podcast. We are here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m., bringing you new resources and things that you need to know all about the disability and elderly community here in Rhode Island and beyond. Tonight, we are talking to the Rhode Island DDC, Rhode Island Developmental Disabilities Council tonight. So thank you, everybody, for joining me tonight. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, Tina.
Yeah, great to be here.
I'm looking forward to it. So let's get right into it tonight, and let's introduce our viewers to who you are and what you do. We'll start with you, Kevin.
My name is Kevin Nerney. I'm the Executive Director of the Rhode Island Developmental Disabilities Council. I'm an attorney as well. I came from the education field where I did a lot of special education law. And as my clients were getting older and turning 18 or generally 21, they'd all of a sudden find there was a gap. They weren't getting the services they needed. And there was an adult system that was not necessarily providing everything that they would need to move on. So following them, I got into the adult side of things and then started doing some work for the council and eventually became the executive director here.
Oh, that's awesome. We are so glad to have you with us tonight. Michael, why don't you go next?
Sure. Michael Matrasher. I am a Providence police officer. I've been a policeman since 1990. I joined the RIDDC in 2013. I became a wheelchair user in 2004, and I became an advocate in 2009. So I joined the RIDDC in 2013, like I mentioned. In 2018, the Providence Police Department needed a Americans with Disabilities Act coordinator. So Colonel Clements, Commissioner Parry, they elected me to take on that task. So now that I'm with the council, I can advocate with a louder voice for people that are in need.
And you do a fabulous job at that. You really do. Sue, why don't you introduce yourself to our guests?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Sue Babin, and I am a special projects coordinator for the Developmental Disabilities Council. I've been in that role for 11 years now, working for Kevin. Prior to working for the council, I worked for the state in the Office of Developmental Disabilities for 32 years. So I've had a long history in advocating and trying to work on special projects to assist people with disabilities to be integrated and valued members of the community.
That's fabulous. I've done some work with you, and I'm looking forward to getting into that. Go ahead, Michael.
One other thing, Tina, I'm the chair of the RIDDC Council, along with Chris Morelli, who is also the co-chair. I forgot to mention the most important part.
You always have to mention your titles. You know, we earn them. We work hard at them. We need to mention our titles. Kevin, tell us a little bit about what the RIDDC does for Rhode Island and why people should, take part in what they do.
Yeah, so a little bit about councils in general. They were established under a federal act called the Developmental Disability Act. And so every state and territory in the country has a DD council. Along with DD councils, the act also set up two other organizations in every state and territory. One is a University Center for Excellence. They do research and training and that kind of thing. And in Rhode Island, that's the Sherlock Center at Rhode Island College. And the other is a protection and advocacy group. They handle legal cases to represent individuals with disabilities. And in Rhode Island, that's Disability Rights Rhode Island. So those are our sister agencies. What the council does, the council is a board, essentially, of appointed members. So there are certain people that automatically get to sit on the board, someone from the Department of Education, someone from the Division for Developmental Disabilities, that kind of thing. The rest, the majority, are appointed by the governor. And they are people with disabilities. They are family members of people with disabilities. And so they're really the driving force behind the work we do. What councils do, like I said, there's another organization that does kind of the research side of things. And there's one that does that individual advocacy, that you need a lawyer, you go see them. What councils do is they do general advocacy. So policy type work, legislative type work. We do leadership development, trying to identify people that can be leaders in the next generation, and then making sure they get the training they need. And then we do some systems change work. That's where we identify certain areas that need some sort of change or improvement, and we identify what that improvement is, and then we work to make that change. And we do that through all sorts of different ways. So that's generally what we do. The interesting thing, and one of the reasons I'm really glad to be on right now with you in RAMP, is because we have a new 5-year plan that's going to be starting October 1st. So it's right around the corner. We're really excited about it. And so we've targeted some specific areas that we want to focus on over the next few years. I don't know if you want me to get into those right now or.
Yeah, I mean, if you definitely want to get into those, or Mike, do you want to take on or say anything, about what your role is as the DD council?
Yeah, my role is I act as the chair, and luckily I have a great director. I have a great co-chair, so my job is fairly easy. But what I want to speak about, Tina, is the system change that Kevin mentioned, as far as trainings and things that we are doing in law enforcement to open the doors for people with developmental disabilities. Because Kevin and Sue can speak to this, that years ago, there wasn't much law enforcement input on these types of issues. And now as the years fly by and things are coming to a head, it's great that we have an ADA coordinator at the Providence PD. We're doing trainings with the RIDDC. All our officers are being trained in developmental disability issues, and it's just system change, like Kev said, the director.
Right.
Could I just ask a quick question? I know that you're mostly developmental disabilities, but do you also have a lot to say for physical disabilities, whether they have a developmental disability and a physical disability or just a physical disability? Do you guys address that as well, to make sure that they're being handled in the right way?
Yeah, so our focus is developmental disabilities. But that being said, obviously the work we do affects a broader group of people, and people with developmental disabilities also have physical disabilities. So yes, the physical side is definitely something we address, even though our focus and our federal mandate is developmental disabilities. To go back to what Michael was talking about, that particular project and that particular area of focus is something we call trauma-informed care. It's something I hadn't heard of, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago or so. I know a lot of other people had, but it was new to me. And we got involved with it because we were seeing a lot of unnecessary restraints, both in schools and on adults with disabilities. So we got involved in the legislative process, and we eventually got a law passed that says you can't put people in a prone restraint. Prone restraint's a particularly dangerous restraint to put somebody in. But within that law, we also, I don't want to say snuck in, we also included some of the trauma-informed care principles. And since then, we have decided that, again, Tina, to your point about physical disabilities, this trauma-informed care stuff, it's not just good for people with developmental disabilities, it's good for the entire community. So we started something called the Ocean State Trauma-Informed Community Coalition. And they are focusing on bringing these trauma-informed principles, understanding that people have traumatic experiences and that needs to be thought of when you're dealing with them. And we're trying to expand it to the entire state. We want the whole state to be a trauma-informed state. So that's one of the areas of focus. And that's one where the police particularly come in because, they roll into a lot of situations where what they need is somebody with an expertise that's not necessarily law enforcement. They do it now. You'll have day one with you, right? At certain times.
Yep.
And so now there's also some social workers that will also respond. And Michael is trying to bring this trauma-informed principle to the police department as well.
And just to speak on that, anybody who follows my show knows that we had OSTIC on last week. So if you want to learn more about OSTIC, which is the Ocean State Trauma Informed Community Coalition, just watch the episode from last week and you can learn all about them so you can know a little bit more what these two gentlemen are talking about. Go ahead, Michael.
No, just to piggyback on what Kevin said, the police department, we work with Day One and the Providence Center. And what those clinicians are doing is they're responding to needed calls with the police officer to engage and kind of diffuse, de-escalation is the word we're using on that type of training. So, OSTIC is there's I think a $600,000 grant out there right now that we're trying to rein in, which because it all comes down to finance. And let's face it, we can do all these projects, we can have all the great ideas that we want, but to run a police department, to train officers, and to get people trained costs money. So grants is our focus right now on how to get some funding.
Yeah, that's great. And like I said, what a great coalition, because RAMP is actually part of that coalition as well, too. So, we all have to work together because none of us are going to do this alone. We all may have our specialties, but like you said, Kevin, they all overlap. So if we're not all working together, we're never going to get the ball moving in the right direction for the majority of the people. Are we going to ever be able to take care of everybody? Yes, maybe somewhere down the road. But we have to take care of the masses and the majority that we can, and then work everybody into it. Sue, tell us a little bit about the special projects that you handle and how it coincides what Kevin and Michael were talking about.
So, like Kevin said, we have a 5-year plan with goals and objectives, and the various goals and objectives are assigned to the different committees of the council. I happen to be the staff person to the Systems Advocacy Committee called the SAC. Some of the things that we've worked on are leadership development, which that's an area that involves working with people from Advocates in Action, as well as the Cross Disability Coalition, to work with people to teach them different leadership skills, how to speak up for themselves, how to advocate, how to vote, testify up at the State House. Kevin has been a speaker. As I know you're a member of the Cross Disability Coalition, so you know that group also has a speakers bureau, which is really important. We have 15 different topics that are within the speakers bureau that people from the council can go out to speak to public groups. They can be on a podcast. They can speak to people with disabilities, family members, community agencies on any one of those topics, like bullying, employment, relationships, employer involvement, the earned income tax credit. There's so many different areas. So leadership development is providing people with opportunities to learn skills so that they can advance as leaders, so that they can participate on boards and contribute to different communities and different organizations that are out there. So we provide support to both Advocates in Action as well as the Cross Disability Coalition to assist both of those organizations in a variety of ways. So that's one area. The other area of the Systems Change Committee that I've been really involved with is employment. That's another big goal area of the council, has been for many different years. In particular, as you know, I've been working on self-employment, which, 10 years ago, it really wasn't anything that people in the state of Rhode Island were recognizing. And so now, within the last 4 years, through some funding from the Department of Labor and Training and support from the council, we've been able to assist over 100 people in the state of Rhode Island to be able to start their own businesses or grow their own businesses. So we've been doing that. But even more important than self-employment is customized employment, because that's a broader term that really comes down to what is it that the person is interested in? What are their ideal conditions of employment? Well, it might be a wage job or it might be self-employment. And so in our new plan, we have some goals and activities around doing some training and education across the state with customized employment and working with employers, assisting other people with disabilities to expand their businesses and publicize that. So those are a couple of areas. We've also done some work with person-centered planning, which is another really big, important goal area of the council. And that's primarily ensuring that the person with the disability and or their family are really taking the lead for what they want and need in their life, that they're developing their plan, not somebody else. That what's in their plan, which is basically the goals and objectives of things that they want to work on for the year, are things that they identify as important, not being influenced by anyone else, but that they're taking charge for the development of that plan. And so that's actually a topic, I should have said that, of the Speakers Bureau, and we hope to really get out there and do more publicity with that in the upcoming year.
Yeah, so
it's all great work that you're doing. Kevin, what would you want to say?
Person-centered planning is one of the systems change areas as well, because it's that important to us. And it's something that we've been working on now for a while. And to Sue's point, we want people to have complete control over their own lives. And one of the other important pieces of that is having control over your funding. So that's another piece of it. So the planning is really important, but having control over the funding is also really important. And so that's what we're working on a policy level. But just because you get a policy changed doesn't mean that people's lives automatically change. A law change, it doesn't necessarily mean that the way things actually operate change. So that's what Sue's talking about. We also need to do training. We need to make sure that people who are going to be operating their plan, who are going to be running those planning meetings for themselves, understand what it is, how to do it, understand that they have the power and control to do that. And beyond that, there are going to be these independent facilitators, somebody that you can hire to help you along the planning process. We don't want it to be somebody who works for the state, because the state has their own agenda. We don't want it to be necessarily somebody who works for a provider agency. And I don't think it's intentional, but if you work for a provider agency, I think sometimes you see the services you provide as the best option for somebody, just naturally. I don't think there's any intent to do that, but I think it happens often enough. So we want these independent facilitators out there to be able to help people through this process. We want to make sure those independent facilitators are. So this is where we're getting outside of what the state can mandate. What we're going to do is make sure that they have the appropriate training, that they have a mentor. If you're new to this, that you can call somebody who's done it before and say, hey, I'm stuck on something. Can you help me? That there's a community of practice around it. And again, that family members and people doing it and the people with disabilities themselves all understand what person-centered planning is and how it operates, and that they can take control of their lives. So that's kind of the work the council is going to be doing around that particular topic.
It's like I said, it's amazing work. But one thing that I particularly want to talk about is employment. I want every business who is listening right now to realize that whether somebody has a developmental disability or a physical disability, they are 1,000% hireable, because you are not going to get a more dedicated employee than hiring somebody who has something to prove. And every one of these individuals, like me, like Michael, who are disabled, we're out in the community every day working. There are a ton of others. Do not discredit or do not think because somebody has a developmental disability or a physical disability that they are unhireable or they're going to be hard to work with, or you have to make 1,001 accommodations. That is not true. It's slight accommodations, and you would be amazed on the dedication and determination that employee is going to have. So not only training the individuals to get the jobs, are you also training employers how to employ, how to interact, and how to, because I know that's something RAMP is doing, and you can learn a lot about that at our event on Saturday. Accessibility is Beautiful at the Steelyard this weekend, because you knew I had to throw that in there. But, is there training out there for businesses to do just that, to learn how they can hire and, interact with their employees?
Yes, there are trainings out there. Getting it out to those particular businesses is not always easy. One thing that Sue has done really well, and I think the council's done really well over the past few years, we used to be really focused on the Division for Developmental Disabilities and really be insular. What we've flipped that around now, and now we're working with, for instance, the Center for Women in Enterprise, working with the Veterans Business Outreach Center. We're working with the Small Business Administration. We're working with local chambers of commerce. And so that's how, those are fairly new relationships and they're still building. But I think that's how we're going to reach people in the community. And again, Sue's done a really, really wonderful job of establishing some of those connections and building them. So while the training is out there, we kind of just have to make sure we're in communication with these groups and these organizations first. And that's kind of the first step is building a community coalition. So that's going really well. And it's something we will be focused on. I do want to give Sue an opportunity to talk about the self-employment piece because it might be the coolest thing that happens here. And it's really exciting. And I mean, I think it's something that might be a national model at some point. And so I'm just going to stop talking and let Sue maybe talk about it because she's running it.
Before I talk about that, I just want to mention, Tina, prior to COVID, we were and still have an excellent relationship with Doug Crandall from Georgia, who is a nationally known expert on self-employment and employer engagement. And that's a terminology that I really want to throw out there, employer engagement. We really need to change the message that we're putting out to employers. We're not looking for employers to hire people with disabilities. We're looking for employers to see the value that an individual with a disability can contribute to their workforce and to embrace the diversity issue. So we had a training a couple of years ago that we're going to be bringing back within the next year with Doug Crandall on employer engagement, where we train staff from community agencies or people that are interested to go out there and make connections with the employer community to get a sense of what their economic development needs are. And again, that's the message. We're all in this for economic development. We're not looking for a handout. We're looking for opportunities for people with disabilities to be integrated and contributing members of the workforce. So what I really like about this training that Doug does is it provides the employer with opportunities to talk about themselves, to talk about what their needs are, and then for us to figure out, well, is there some solution? Can we come up with a potential business within a business opportunity where the individual with a disability can go into that place of employment and have something that they do? For example, this year we're hoping to start up 3 to 5 mobile coffee cart businesses run by folks with disabilities. Well, that's a transportable thing. My initial thought was to, right in the building that Kevin and I work, there's a treatment center, an emergency center downstairs, and people go in there and they have to wait 2 or 3 hours to get in the back to talk about whatever their medical need is. And so there's no place that you can buy food over there or get a coffee. You're not feeling well. And so my thought was, well, why not have a coffee stand right there with tea, maybe some cough drops, coffee, maybe some little pastries or whatever. That's an example of a business within a business. So we're hoping to do that. I want to bring back Doug for that training again, employer engagement. When we did the training 1.5 years ago prior to COVID, we worked with 20 different employers in the state of Rhode Island. So that was something that was unique and different. And I like the message of economic development. So with the Self-Employment Project, we run 3 rounds of training, 3 business development series in the course of a year. We developed that business development series in collaboration with the Small Business Administration, the Veterans Business Outreach Center, and the Center for Women in Enterprise. We basically looked at the curriculums that they had and we adapted those curriculums to be more in line and understandable to folks with disabilities. So right now we have 8 different classes. It's, what does it mean to be an entrepreneur? The steps to starting your business. How do I create a dynamite elevator pitch? What's my target market? Marketing strategies, writing a business plan, using social media, and then accounting and finances are most of the areas. In addition to that, we run a Thursday afternoon entrepreneur forum from 3 to 4 o'clock that anybody in our classes or any aspiring entrepreneur out there can participate in. I think what makes our project different is we just don't run classes. We assign people to a staff mentor. We have 12 different business instructors that are available for individual technical assistance. I don't know anything about business. I know about working with people with disabilities. I know how to create the PowerPoint so that people will understand them, but I don't know about accounting and sales and marketing. So the people that are our business consultants are all people from the business industry in Rhode Island. And they've been absolutely fabulous with people, helping them to create a Facebook page or a website or a logo or a marketing strategy. So that makes us different. The other thing that makes us different is we partnered with Deb Wood from We Be Jammin', and she organized 20 different outside marketplaces starting in late April across the state at Rocky Point, at the Patuxent Village, at the Crown Plaza, and other locations throughout the state where people with disabilities, along with other entrepreneurs and small businesses, could get out there and sell their stuff to the general public. And so what's really cool about that is when somebody comes to buy something and they see the vendors that are there, they don't see the disability. They see somebody that's got something really cool for sale. And that's the goal, to have not only help people to make money and improve their financial futures with their businesses, but also to give them an opportunity to really be integrated out there with the public. So that's something that's different. We also offer, as you know, mini grants of anywhere from $250 all the way up to $2,000 to help people to buy the things that they need for their business. So I think those are all things that make us stand out as different. On our website, which is RIDDC.org, if you click on the tab for self-employment, you'll see a business directory there that has started to list some of these folks with their businesses and their social media pages, or how you can get in touch with people. There's some really cool videos that are on there. And we've been fortunate to have a marketing director that's been excellent in making connections with people in their individual businesses, with different local newspapers, as well as the road show and things like that. And so all of that information is up on our website, which will show you a variety of different people. You're up there, a variety of different people and what their businesses are. So I'm really amazed at how, what a great sense of accomplishment that is for people with disabilities to have a business card and to be able to say that I'm a business owner. And it's not for everybody. Customized employment is for everybody, but self-employment is not. And people need to have a business team to be able to assist them with their business. So we've been doing some national webinars. We're going to be doing a national webinar on, I think it's October 6th for the ASPE. And I have 5 people with disabilities that are all going to be talking about their businesses. So we're excited about that opportunity. And I think one of the goals that we've been talking to Doug about is to create a national coalition on self-employment. And we already have 6 states that are really interested in that. We were just on the phone with New York 2 weeks ago, talking to them about how to get this going, because it's helping people to do what they really want to do, whatever their passion is, and to make that dream a reality and to turn that hobby into something that really can make them some money so that their financial future is improved upon.
Yeah, well, RAMP really wants to be a part of that because RAMP is national and we are in 13 states across the country right now, just our little organization. So it's all about and how you present yourself. Because I know one of the things that RAMP does is we go into businesses and we go to their employee meetings and we teach their employees how to interact when somebody with disability comes into their restaurant, to making sure that they have a clear path to the bathroom, that their employees aren't using the wrong stalls, or how to interact with an ASL interpreter and how to actually talk to the people. And what we found is the employers found it so appealing that they could make these accommodations. They've actually hired some of our people that we knew we have now got them jobs at those businesses that we've already trained the employees of how to interact with them. Now they're hiring them. So this is a model that we would like to bring in, because it's all in the presentation. You can have the best, juiciest steak with all of the fixings and present it on a trash can, and no one's going to eat it. So if you present it properly on a gorgeous plate, it's appealing to everybody. And that's exactly what we want to do. And that's why it's so important for organizations like all of us to work together to make this goal for everybody. Michael, give us some insight on what you see of all this, because I mean, you work for the DDC Council, you also work for RAMP and 1,000 other commissions and things that you sit on. So, you get a wide variety of what you see. Give us some of your thoughts on this.
Well, I think it's a great thing. I mean, I've been so empowered by this organization that the work that Kevin does, the work that Sue does with this self-employment stuff. And not only that, the folks that I met that are so talented, that go unseen in the community, and they got so much talent that they're trying to get out there. And that's what keeps me motivated and moving forward. My other groups, Tina, I could speak about ARI, I could speak about the MS Dream Center, which is an organization that fights for people that have multiple sclerosis like myself. ARI is another one. Accessibility is what we're all striving for. But when I joined the RIDDC and look at the developmental disability end of it, empowering, these people are so talented that these companies are losing out by not hiring certain individuals. So, I can talk about
100% agree.
There's a bunch of organizations, and if you want to give me a particular question, I'll answer it, but there's so many different ways I can go with this.
But you must see a lot of overlap is basically what I was getting to. You must see a lot of overlap. Like I said, what we're doing at RAMP and what I'm hearing from Kevin and Sue, there's a lot of overlap there. You know what I mean? So you must see that with a lot of different your organizations.
Well, Tina, we had a great conversation about this not long ago. How and I was just speaking with the director about it, about how organizations such as us, RIDDC, the MS Dream Center, Open Doors, OSL, all these different groups don't really communicate, but they do, but they stop at a certain point. So like you mentioned the other night about how we're trying to connect these dots, and Kevin brought up a great point as to what he does and how the dots are connected, but we don't see it. We don't see the behind the scenes of connections that it's happening. And then what happens is it gets to a certain point and then it gets stalled.
So I think the problem is we do a good job of connecting with organizations within our smaller sphere. And what Michael's saying is we need to do a better job of connecting with organizations outside of that smaller sphere. So yeah, we've got a great relationship with other DD advocacy, developmental disability advocacy groups. But what we need to do is start working more with you, RAMP and the Governor's Commission and OSL and all those groups, MS Dream Center and everybody. And then beyond that, we need to start working with community organizations that are just at the Chambers of Commerce and the SBA and all the, so yeah, it's really about a broader connection to the community, and then a broader connection to other organizations such as yours that are trying to achieve very similar things, right? So right. One of our other big systems issues is housing. Well, that's important to everybody. That's not just important to people with developmental disabilities, obviously.
Right.
And making sure that accessible housing is available. Again, this is one of those things, you got to change the policy, and then you got to make sure the policy is enforced and that it's actually happening at the ground level.
Yeah.
So
well, I was just having a conversation. Yeah. Well, I was just having a conversation with the governor, lieutenant governor, and our Rhode Island delegation, the senators and congressmen, because they're very involved with me. They're very involved with RAMP. So I have the political connection because they believe in what we do and how we're trying to bring people together. And one of the things that we came up with is we want to make a team of all the leaders of all of these groups sit at a table together and once a month, give our ideas and where everybody is, because what you could be doing and what you're fighting for funding for is something we're fighting for. So instead of everybody getting a sliver of the pie, we get a big chunk of the pie and we put it to the best way to put it for that section that we can. So we're really working very hard, and our state leaders see how we can work together and they really want to make this happen. So now is the time, because I believe COVID was a blessing in a sense to the disability community, because I've said it 1,000 times. Everybody got a glimpse into the disability community during COVID. The isolation, the not being able to go places and not being able to be with people. Now you didn't like it. Now that the world is opening up and we're able to get out and see people, take us with you. So we have, and that's why our event on Saturday is so successful, because if you present it to them that way, did you like being in isolation? Did you like being stuck at home? No. Do you like our money? Do you like us giving you our money? Do you like us coming to your restaurant and raising your bottom line? Yes. So now we're opening their minds. They're seeing the bigger picture. So now is the time for all of us to make a movement and bind together at one table and work together. And like I said, instead of everybody going for a tiny sliver of the pie, let's go for big chunks together and solve the problem all at once. Kevin, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I that's where Michael was going with his comments, and we were talking about that exact thing before we got on with you today, and how it's going to be necessary. Smaller groups don't have the same kind of political power that we'd have if we all got together and worked together. And there are certainly issues, housing being a big one, and making sure that there's accessible housing. So I think it's really going to be the only way we get anything done is by sitting at the same table and pushing for the same thing. So we're on board.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. Michael, what do you think of that?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, that's something I've been striving for a while, to get that going, but I'm not in that position to make that change. Like I said, I'm a policeman during the day and I do this part-time, free. So, I mean,
Right.
I love the idea and I think it needs to happen.
Yeah. Sue, what do you think?
I always say, for a small state, we should have a whole lot more things organized than what we do. Like when something bad happens, people find out really quickly. When there's really cool things going on, sometimes people don't know about it. But, we're at a point where collaborations are almost a necessity, and I think that we need to build those connections and collaborations, not only with OSIL and the Governor's Commission, but Kevin mentioned it before, with the small business people, with the chambers, with people that we typically haven't had connections with, because one of the goals of all councils is to work to ensure that people with disabilities are really included and valued within local communities. And the only way that can happen is if people have opportunities to be together with different people. I think some of the schools have done a really good job with that. Kevin and I went to visit Cumberland High School a number of years ago, and we were really impressed with how that school from the top down was instilling that point. And Pontiac High is another really great school in the state, where they instill that culture of inclusion, that people are not different. We're more alike than different. More alike than different. I said that right. But I think collaborations are really important. And it's sometimes it's not comfortable because people have these turfdoms, especially in Rhode Island. But we need to knock down those turfdoms, because we're only going to get a bigger piece of the pie, like you say, if people work together and, figure out how we can collaborate and get to know each other and figure out what people are doing, because there's more opportunities for people to do things together, but we just don't know about it.
Right. And that's exactly what RAMP's goal is. RAMP's goal is to be the umbrella to oversee and bring all of these groups together, because we don't have a vested investment in any one in particular. We have an overall investment that the job gets done. We don't care who gets the credit. We care that the job gets done and that everybody can have a piece of the pie. Everybody can get in, and everybody, even like the employment thing. our approach to the employment and talking to the businesses and Sue's approach to talking, maybe we can tweak both of ours together and make an even stronger model going across the board using both of our ideas, what worked, what didn't work. But I really believe being a great advocate isn't getting your community to see and hear you and believe in you, but getting the people who are not in your community to believe and see in you, as in the business owners who are normal, able-bodied, or however you want to say it, getting them to believe that this is a good initiative. That's when you become a great advocate. That's when you become change is actually going to happen in Rhode Island. What are your thoughts on how to make that happen, Kevin?
So I think we're building those relationships right now as we speak, not only to the broader disability community, which I and Sue and I have both said it a couple times now. We also need to just build inroads into the community. Really work with the people that are out there right now, the businesses, the Small Business Administration, the Chamber of Commerce's, the businesses themselves, and not just businesses, recreational places as well, theaters and music venues and all of that stuff. We need to have artist venues. We need to have a relationship with all of them. And so that's, we have been doing that, and we're doing actually, I think, a pretty good job considering we're a staff of like 2.5. So we've been doing pretty well, but we're going to continue to do that. I mean, that's part of our 5-year plan. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited. I think it's really important. I know too many of my colleagues across the country still run some segregated programs where, people are just congregating themselves, and that's no good. And Sue brought up the self-employment piece and all these opportunities people have to kind of sell some of their stuff and venues that they can go to. She didn't bring up the biggest and best of all of them.
I was waiting. I didn't forget about
okay?
it.
Well, I'm going to tee that up for you now, then, because one of the events that we run, Sue is in charge of, and it is unbelievable. It's completely integrated. Sue, why don't you talk about it? I'll just be quiet for a little while.
I was just going to say it after you got done speaking, Kevin, because I think an example of collaboration is 4 years ago, the council put together a small team of people, and thanks to Kevin with his relationship with Brian LaFauci, who at the time was the director of the Veterans Business Outreach Center, and Brian's connections with Deb Moraes, who is an owner of a public relations agency. We put together an internal team of people to create an event at the Crown Plaza called Small Business Saturday Shop RI. And Small Business Saturday is a national event. It's been going on now for 11 years, set up by American Express to draw some attention on the small business community. You might not know this, or maybe you do, but 95% of all businesses are technically small businesses. And so Rhode Island is no different than any other state. What this event is nationally is to get people to shop on the Saturday after Thanksgiving at small businesses within the state, not the Walmarts or the Macy's or online Amazon or those kinds of things, but for people to go out of their way to see the small mom and pop operations that are out there and entrepreneurs that are trying to make a living. And so we came up with the idea of, okay, well, let's rent out the Crown Plaza, and we will provide an opportunity for 100 plus businesses to be able to come in and sell their goods and products and services to the general public. So the first year we had 94 businesses there. By year 3, we were sold out with 140 businesses. This year, I expect to have 150 businesses. We had over 3,000 people come to that event in 2019 before COVID. We had every television station and talk show. We were on all of them. We were in different local newspapers. The governor's office was supportive of the politicians that were out there. And I think probably the best thing that happened was when one of the TV stations came in. I'm not going to tell you who. And the TV person he said, you know what, let me just go around and check out different stuff for us. And I said, okay. And I guess I should have backed it up to say, of the 140 businesses, about 25 are people with disabilities, and the rest are other local entrepreneurs or small businesses here in our state. So this TV reporter was going around, and he was actually looking for people, the person with a disability, selling at one of the vendor stands. And so he came up to me and he said, I thought you said that this was an integrated, marketplace where there's people with disabilities going to be here. I don't see any. I said, oh my God, I love that statement. That's fabulous, because we just proved that people with disabilities are just as part of the small business community as anybody else. I don't want you to see the disability. I want you to see somebody that has a business and has something of quality to offer to the public. And you're buying it not because you feel bad about somebody, but you're buying it because you want that item and you see the value that's there. So we're really we're looking forward to this year's event. Last year we had to do a virtual event, which we did the best that we can, but it's certainly not the same as in public. We have a very diversified group of vendors, minorities, people with disabilities, women, veterans, people from all over the state, Westerly, Newport, Providence, Woonsocket, all kinds of crafts, everything that you can imagine. If you don't walk out of there with a shopping bag full of holiday gifts, then there's something wrong, because it really is a tremendous event. And I'm really excited to say that, so of those 140 vendors that we had in 2019, one vendor was the high seller of the day with $5,600 in sales. Now the event goes 9 to 3. $5,600 in sales in one day. And you know what? That vendor was We Be Jammin', which is a business, a mother and son with a disability business. They sell jams and sauces for your items on the grill. Every item was $7, and they sold $5,600. They were the high sales people of the day. How cool is that? That's really, really awesome. So we're looking forward to, we have a website, www.sbsshopri.com. There's still a few opportunities for vendors to sign up, probably less than 15 at this point. And you can see examples of the vendors, the listing of the vendors up on our webpage. So we're really happy about that particular event. Mike and Kevin are always there, as well as other council members supporting the event. And it's just a really, really great opportunity. And it's perfect timing right before the upcoming holiday season. So I believe it's November 27th this year. That's the Saturday after Christmas. After Thanksgiving. Hello. After Thanksgiving. And we've got some great vendors this year, mostly the same people, and a bunch of new folks as well. So it will be a great opportunity. And it's in an accessible environment, which is really important. So anybody is welcome to come.
Yeah, it is a great event. And the one thing I do really like about it, and I want everybody out there to know, we don't want you to know, or we don't want you to hire us because we're disabled, or we don't want to be the inspirational story on the news because we happen to be doing something, or I happen to be well dressed with shoes on and my hair brushed at Target today. Because trust me, see me in an hour and my shoes are lost, my hair God only knows what happened, and I don't remember what I was doing. So so just because we're not inspirational because we're out and about, we may do inspirational things because of the world we're trying to change, but see us for who we are. Don't see the disabilities, see us. Now that we're nearing the end of the hour, quickly, Kevin, why don't you give us your final last words and what you want people to know and your website?
Sure. So again, the council itself, we're always interested in having people get involved with any of the projects we're working on. We do leadership development. We do leadership development where we teach people how to change policy. We have a family advocacy group that we support as well. Some of the other big issues that we're working on is supported decision-making. We don't want people to be under guardianship if they don't need to be under guardianship. We want alternatives so people can make their own decisions. And one of those ways is supported decision-making. Voting is huge. And the last major election, they allowed different ways for you to vote. You could vote by mail. You could drop things off. You could vote early. And I don't know a single person that didn't appreciate that. A lot of people really liked it. It made it more accessible to more people. So we want to make sure that continues. We're going to be working on that. We also do all sorts of policy level work. We're always working with the Division for Developmental Disabilities. We're always working with the government. We do a lot of legislative work. We actually have a lobbyist. We're at the State House almost every time they're in session. I'm happy to answer anybody's questions. If anyone has any questions, you can find our website at www.riddc.org. We're doing a lot of exciting work. We've got to make sure people know about it. And that's why I love these kind of opportunities. Thank you so much. We're excited. We're looking forward to doing it.
Yeah. Mike, any final last words?
No, I think we did well. Thank you, Tina, for letting us on. I wanted to showcase the RIDDC Council because they do fabulous work, as you can see. But also the MS Dream Center is having a wine and dine on the 25th of this month at the Crown Plaza. If you want to visit msstreamcenter.org and check out that event. But thank you again, Tina.
I'll be there too. I'll be at that one too. Sue, any final last words?
No, other than just, as Kevin said, check out our website. We also have a Facebook page. So like our page, check out our website, support the businesses that are listed in that business directory, and put on your calendar Small Business Saturday Shop RI.
And if anybody didn't get that website, it's riddc.org. Or you can just contact me and I can put you in contact with these fabulous people, because not only are they fellow advocates, I could also call them my friend. And I'm very proud to call them my friend. And I look very much forward to working with all of you going forward, because I have a lot of big things coming down the pipeline that I can definitely benefit all of you guys help with. So I'm looking forward to it. And I also thank you all for supporting our Red Bag Initiative, carrying all of your medical information on you at all time that is non-tech based. So go on to www.rampisinclusion.com and grab your red bag today. You do not need to have a disability to carry a red bag. My 21-year-old son has no disability. He carries one to be an organ donor in case, God forbid, something happens. It takes the power out of my hands and he lets his feelings known. So we're very, very excited about that. So thank you all for being on my show tonight. You guys can also catch the reruns of this show on our Facebook page or on our website. Again, that's www.rampisinclusion.com, and check out last week's. So you can check out OSTICS, the Ocean State Trauma Informed Care, where Kevin and Michael and I are also on as well. So you can get more on. And the more organizations that we bind together, the more we're going to prove and the more we're going to make a difference and a change in Rhode Island and beyond. So if you're an organization of any ability, please reach out to us and let us work together, and let's make a difference and let's make a change for an amazing community going forward. Because by 2030, there is going to be a bigger population of the disabled. If you're not talking about accessibility right now, you'll be alienating a good portion of Rhode Island's population, and no business can afford to do that going forward. So we'll hopefully see you all at Accessibility is Beautiful on September 18th from 3 to 8 at the Steel Yard. Hopefully all of these wonderful people will be here. And you can learn everything that we were talking to you, how to employ, how to get your business accessible and affordably. All of our elected officials will be there, so you can talk to them, as well as a lot of great artists of all abilities that are going to be there at this event. So just go on to our Facebook page or website and sign up. Thank you, Kevin, Michael, and Sue. It was such a pleasure talking to you tonight. I look forward to working with you guys going forward. Again, www.riddc.org. Reach out. Make sure you're getting in contact. And if you can't get in contact with them, reach out to me and I'll kick them in the butt to respond to you. But I don't have to, because they are fabulous people and they do their work. They're amazing. So thank you very much. And we will talk to you all and see you all Saturday. Have a great night.
Great. Thank you.